Welcome to an episode of Future Stars Now. My name is Mike Freland. I clearly am not the Ritt. The Ritster will be joining us a little bit later on in the episode. But as we always do here on Future Stars Now, we talk to the upcoming stars, the people who will be making waves in the very near future. And tonight's episode is actually going to be really, really fun because it's going to be a personal episode. It's going to be an episode about somebody who is near and dear to our hearts and someone who's been a part of the Front Row Material brand and family ever since Mikey Whipwreck introduced him to the show. So right now, without any further ado, as we bring in a wonderful guest to enjoy this on a Friday night, go ahead and let's bring in Moondog, Greg Murray. What's up, buddy?
Drinking.
Hey, you can't beat that, my friend. It's the holidays. It's the holidays, my friend.
Yeah, the holidays is in like 2 weeks.
For me, the holidays have already started. The holidays are already here.
I can tell. Look at all those Christmas shit.
I know. It's like Christmas threw up in my house. I'll give you kind of a panorama thing. It's a little crazy. Got all the presents, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Santa's candy cane right there and displayed.
Indeed. We've got a lot of stuff in here. So what about you? Are you in the festive mood yet, or is it kind of still going to take a little time before we turn that page?
I got blackout drunk watching the Muppets Christmas Carol, so that's, I guess so.
That nothing is better than having the Muppets kind of christen your holiday season.
I love that movie.
Is that where Kermit is Bob Cratchit?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, and then my Twitch stream, I started every December. I play Batman Arkham Origins because the game is based around Christmas.
Nice.
Like, there's like a scene where like literally Batman drops a thug into a Christmas tree. It's I love the game so much. It's legit one of my favorite video games ever.
Nice. We are going to get into your desire for video games and streaming as well. We'll be able to go ahead and plug that. But this episode is kind of dedicated to you and a lot of our listeners who tune into Front Row Material and Future Stars Now and Cult of Beardo and all of these other shows that we produce are familiar with you. They know your pro wrestling career. But let's go ahead and let's kind of take a step backwards and let's kind of follow the genesis of all of this, if you will. So when were you first introduced to wrestling?
As a fan or as a wrestler?
As a fan.
It was 2008. Well, technically, of course, we've all grown up on the video. Even non-wrestling fans have played the video games. So, like, I played WrestleMania 2000, and then I played like Here Comes the Pain, and then eventually, 2008 September. My dad. It's a Tuesday night. My dad's flipping through channels, and he calls me down. Guys, look what I found. It's Tommy Dreamer versus Jack Swagger in an Extreme Rules match on ECW on Sci-Fi.
Wow.
I was hooked. I was like, this is what I've been dying to watch. Because, like, I always love the video games. I'm like, what is this like in real life? Because, like, some of the video games come with, like, music videos and shit you can watch. I'm like, God, this looks awesome to watch. And finally, when my dad found it, it was Jack Swagger and Tommy Dreamer that got me into wrestling.
Wow. So now that you've gotten into wrestling, did you go back in time and kind of chronicle some of the stuff that happened before that? Or did you just say, you know what, 2008, I'm just going to go straight forward?
2009, how old was I? I had to be 10. I didn't right away, but now, fuck, I love the old shit. Like, well, my gimmick's a Moondog, so obviously I like the old shit. But as a kid, like, if I could get DVDs, if I could get video games, if I could get action figures, and, like, of course, the action figures have the little bio on the back of the box, so I learned about wrestlers that way, you know. I wouldn't know who they were, but I thought their figure looked cool, so I was like, I'm going to grab that, you know. So, yeah. I love wrestling. I have a Hizar Drizive of old school wrestling shit. So wink, wink.
So okay, so you get hooked in it in 2008. Yep. Tommy Dreamer, Jack Swagger, ECW on Sci-Fi.
Yep.
And what did you think at that point in time? Like, obviously, you weren't as familiar as you are today with the ECW brand. Now that you're able to compare the ECW brand from Sci-Fi versus what originally was 94 to 2000, what's your thoughts on that? Did you like the WWE's presentation, or do you feel like you are more of a fan of the Paul Heyman version of it?
Well, of course, the original is always going to be the best, but the 2006, 2007 through that era, actually 2006 to 2008, looking at that back, it is so batshit crazy. And a lot of shit didn't work at the time. It's funny because like when you rewatch the Big Show's title reign, at the time everyone hated it for obvious reasons. But watching back, it's one of the best runs in WWE. Like he took on everybody, like everybody that from SmackDown, from Raw, including ECW. Like that feud with Sabu was titties. Like those matches with Sabu was fucking great. Unfortunately, it ended how it ended in that chamber where Heyman wanted Punk to win, and Vince was like, "Fuck that, Bobby Lashley, who only showed up a month ago."
Yeah, that's
after having elevated liver enzymes or some shit. So,
it's crazy, but you know what? I do agree with you, because I think sometimes in the moment we don't give things the proper credit that they're due, right? Because we're like, okay, but then after we have time to digest it, to sit back, to reflect upon it, and then to maybe do a compare and contrast with other champions or other title reigns that happened maybe after that, I think we can appreciate things better. I'm kind of in that camp with the Attitude Era. I was not a fan. I hate to say this, but I wasn't a huge fan of the Attitude Era. And people probably say, "Good God, what's your problem?" But I wasn't originally, because I felt like wrestling wasn't necessarily the main focus. It was more of the Jerry Springer type of stuff, and I liked just straight wrestling. Mm-hmm. So it kind of turned me away a little bit. But now that I'm coming back and I can see it, if I can filter out some of the talking, the TLC matches were really good. The Rock's run was really good. His feuds with Shane McMahon were good. The Mr. McMahon character was good. There was a lot of things that you can take away that were really good from that era.
Oh, of course. Probably more good from that era than the ECW WWE era.
Yeah, I would concur with that as well.
Because it's very few things. I think the last good thing was probably Christian in ECW. No?
So in 2008, you're watching this. Obviously, was there anybody else in your family that was wrestling fans? Or you said your dad had said, "Hey, look what I found." Did he start watching it with you? Or
yeah, he watched a little bit of it. My dad grew up in Georgia. So he got Georgia Championship Wrestling. His favorite wrestler was Ole Anderson. I want to get him a "Damn, I Am Good" t-shirt, which is the shirt Ole wore. I know he'd fucking love it. But yeah, he would tell me he remembered like the 80s shit and how he hated the Horsemen, and he was always rooting for Dusty. And it's funny, I guess he got frustrated with Dusty too, though, because like he's like, "Fuck." Fans are. It was interesting to hear his take on it, but yeah, I drove my family crazy with wrestling. That's all I want. I grew up with high functioning autism. I was diagnosed with high functioning autism. And the thing about it is, especially when you're a kid, you hyperfixate. So like I was obsessed with Star Wars, and then I was obsessed with Transformers, then I was obsessed with wrestling. Wrestling's the longest thing I've ever been obsessed with. And I would slowly circle back around to Star Wars and Transformers, thankfully. Other things, I guess Imaginext, but that's way past your time. I don't know if you know what that is. Obviously, I grew out of that.
When did that come out?
Imaginext? 2008, 2009. I remember it was like the first stuff was like the dinosaurs. And of course, I loved Jurassic Park as a kid. I love dinosaurs. So I'm like, yes, need this. Me and my brother had all these dinosaurs and shit. And we had a house fire in 2010 and everything gone. The only thing that survived was my wrestling figure collection. In fact, I still got a lot of those figures from that fire. So yeah, been through a lot, unfortunately.
Well, like they say, it doesn't surprise me that the wrestling figures survive, because they say at the end of the world, when the apocalypse happens, there's only two things that are going to survive: cockroaches and TNA wrestling. And it doesn't surprise me that wrestling action figures are tough enough to survive even a fire. So I'm sorry to hear about that. That I did not know about. How did that affect you? I mean, kind of off topic here, but how did that affect you as far as growing up?
My dad was becoming a raging alcoholic because of a divorce between my parents. So that house fire really sent him off the deep end.
Right.
And me being 2010, I had to be like 12 maybe. I was also having a horrible year in 6th grade because that school didn't know how to take care of, kids who have trouble issues. It wouldn't be till I grew up in I was born in Rockford, grew up in Belvedere. We moved to Freeport for a few years. That's where the fucking house fire happened. We ended up moving back to Belvedere, and it was like everything just went back. Everything got back to normal. It was a bumpy road, but my dad eventually he got better. Us as a family got better. My mom got better. Everybody met people. It was happy endings in the end. It just took fucking 10 years, unfortunately.
Right. So you find this. You said you fixated on different things, but then wrestling became your main fixation. And who was your main guy or gal, or who was the person that you gravitated towards the most?
Oh, Triple H. Guy was fucking cool. It sucked though, because by 2010 he was starting to get off TV as a wrestler, and that's when I discovered the computer and internet. So I was like looking back, and I realized and then that's why I learned. I'm like, oh man, this is it. I got in way too late, because when I got in, it was 2008. Triple H was the WWE champion on SmackDown, feuding with Vladimir Kozlov and fucking Edge and Undertaker, and who was my first big feud? I had to be Orton and Triple H, that WrestleMania 25 feud, which made my dad pissed off and changed the channel.
Wow.
My dad is a wrestler. He hates to admit, but he really buys into the storyline shit, and he gets pissed. That's why he gets pissed when he sees me get beat up. It's like, Dad, it's fine. I'm supposed to get beat up.
But he's loyal. He's dedicated, and it sounds like he's a true fan, and I give him credit.
Yeah, people want fans a lot of wrestlers love fans like that. A lot of wrestlers love when I bring my family to shit, because especially my grandma Jones, who thinks it's real. They are obsessed with her. I love it.
So Triple H is your guy. You're watching wrestling. Did you talk about wrestling to friends at school? Were there any other people that you kind of had cliques with that you were like, hey, what happened here? Or did you catch this last night or at the lunch table or recess?
By middle school, everyone was like, oh, it's fake and gay, because that's how middle school kids are.
Yep. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I teach middle school.
Yeah, so I was the only one until I moved back to Belvedere, and then I eventually met I met friends who were, if they weren't watching it, they were at least interested. And then finally I met my friend Donald, who I actually just got off the phone with him. We were talking about shit. We were just talking about wrestling and stuff. And then I met him, and then we just fucking clicked from there. I had a backyard wrestling league in Belvedere. It was I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. I'm not telling you where, because it's fucking embarrassing. It's more play fighting.
All the people who became huge stars actually did that. So you are following in the steps of icons. So, but
I feel like Punk had better backyard matches than me. So.
We're always our toughest critic. Remember that.
You watch the footage and be the judge.
So. Middle school turns into high school. Obviously, the love for wrestling has not waned. Am I correct in that?
No, not at all.
So,
I wanted to be a wrestler when I first discovered it. But by 17, I had gotten into a weird relationship with a 20-year-old.
Okay.
Actually, it was 16. I got in a relationship with a 20-year-old, and it was just so fucked up and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to be a wrestler anymore. I'd rather just be here for you and shit like that. And after that fucking destroyed my confidence and doing anything. I ate all the time. I drank all the time. I still drink all the time. I just don't eat all the time. Yeah, I was, God, I was almost 300 pounds just 2 years ago, because I never worked out. I never went out. I never did anything. I just sat around, ate, drank all day. And especially when COVID happened, it was, oh God, I got worse,
So when it comes to your desire to wrestling, sometimes obviously life happens and things change, right? Priorities change sometimes. Do you feel like you kind of gave a part of yourself up and you really wanted to stay loyal to wrestling, but life just, the situation didn't allow you to still continue to stay loyal to it? So How long did it take before you actually came back around to it after that relationship?
It was July of 2020, last year. It was when I started having dreams. You know, like when you fall asleep, you have these dreams. I started having dreams of wrestling, or wrestling school to be exact. I sat up that next morning. I was like, especially after the pandemic, I had attempted suicide during the pandemic, and I didn't do it. I didn't go through with it. It was that, and just the pandemic in general. I'm like, life's fucking short. Let's give it a whirl. Just so I'm not 40 years old going, what if I tried? I can at least say I tried, because that would be, I don't know how I'd handle that if I didn't try. So I gave it a shot, and here I am today. My wrestling anniversary from my first match is going to be, I think, January 24th.
Wow.
So that'd be about a year now.
That's crazy how fast time goes, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm relieved in some aspects because I wasn't so hot when I first started training. It was rough because never did any sports, was no way an athlete until getting into wrestling. So, and now I got a regular workout routine and fucking regular wrestling school practice and shit like that. Thank God, to keep me in shape, or at least keep me in ring shape, so I could fucking balloon out, but still somehow have the lungs of a Olympic track runner. You know, it's the weirdest shit.
So you have this moment where you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not gonna play the what if game anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and do this." How did you even start your process in trying to find wrestling schools? What was the process? Did you just kind of hop online and say who is nearest to me, or did you find out like what people were the trainers? Like, what was your impetus to find the specific school?
It was like I think a year or two before, where again the idea was popping up in my head, but I'm like, nah, it's not happening. Premier Pro Wrestling was popping up in my Facebook. And Premier Pro Wrestling is this outfit out of Woodstock, Illinois, which is an hour and a half out of Chicago, a half hour out of Rockford. So I looked at that. It was only, I would say it was like a half hour drive. So I'm like, well, there you go. Let's start. And then I'm looking at, because they have a website and they got quotes about the trainer, Rockin' Randy, the trainer, quote unquote, Rockin' Randy. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's give it a shot. Got $150, I think it was, and went to practice. And boy, oh boy, was it not a good first day, but I didn't give up. So,
and without giving out numbers or whatnot, I've heard that wrestling tuition can be expensive, and it's not cheap.
Yeah, PPW was really reasonable. It was $2,400, I think. My deal with CSW right now is, being I was already a wrestler training, they were able to cut me a deal, so I don't have like the starter deal for someone who doesn't know how to do a fucking leapfrog. That's our deal. So they gave me a deal when I switched schools.
Nice.
But yeah, I was looking into, when I was leaving PPW, looking for a new school before I picked CSW. I did look into Freelance, and they got top-notch trainers. They got some of the best names in the Chicago scene, and oh boy, are you paying for it? So I wasn't viable. So I'm like, all right, let's try CSW, and here we are.
So how long does typically, when you sign up for a program, how long does it last? Is it like a 2-year thing? Is it a 3-year thing? How long does that work?
It depends on the school. It depends on you as well. I didn't wrestle till I think I had to have been. So I trained in July. My first match was in January.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a while. Because, I had to get my body, because it was pretty much we need to get you into shape before we can even do anything with you.
Right.
Because, like I said, it was 287 pounds. I dropped all the way down to 215. I've since gained weight back, but in a good way. And now I'm back to like 235, 240, just fluctuating between there, which is fine by me because like I feel, some days I feel heavy, other days I'm like, I don't feel like someone can just, and I fall over, because like I said, 215, I was fucking getting like skinny,
Right.
It was nice though. I fit in everything. All my old clothes started fitting again.
So you decide to go ahead and do this, and you put down your money, and you train from July all the way to January. Talk to me a little bit about what were some of the things that they would put you through. What would be an average day? All right. I come in, I check in, I get my gear on, or whatever they have you. Are you putting gear on at that point, or is it just not even putting on boots yet?
No, even the wrestlers they would just come in and like workout gear and would like train and like would have practice matches and workout gear, which is it's fine. It'd be weird to just all right, let's get on the wrist tape for a practice match in front of nobody, in front of the boys. But no, it was so they did it so differently. So Randy was the quote unquote head trainer. As head trainer, he sat in a chair with a cigarette in his hand, rocking back and forth like a fucking ward patient, and just told the guy, like the guys who have been wrestling, all right, show him this. It's like, all right, let's do up downs. And he didn't really get in the ring. He didn't really show you anything. He would show you something occasionally, but he'd be annoyed and be like, like in the way, like, how do you not get it? That sort of deal. But for the most part, never. He led it up to like Matt Vine or Chase Gosling, Tim Castle, Charlie Hustle, Victor Anestra. Just like the fucking roster. The roster will train you guys. It's fine. When in PPW, everybody on that roster had their own agenda. Which is fine. Every wrestler has their own agenda, but especially in PPW, they all have their own fucking agenda, which is fine. I don't know. It is what it is. It's wrestling.
Did you find that there was a lot of people when you first started training? Was there a lot of, I guess, trainees that were in there with you? What was your starting class like?
You don't start in a class. You just show up. And like I've seen trainees come and go. It was all about who kept coming back to train. But if there was a class, it would be me, Psycho Spawn, and Alejandro Marufo. And the guy who really like kind of like gave us advice was Eddie the Bruiser Cruz, who is one of the most greatest fucking people you could ever meet, like nicest guy ever. And no matter who you are, he'll get you laughing about something, because he's that kind of personality where like you can't help but not look away. You have to watch him the entire time because he's just that charismatic outside the ring as he is inside the ring. I learned a lot from Eddie. It's kind of weird thinking back because us three, me, Alejandro, and Brandon Spawn. Spawn, I think, got in the ring quicker than any of us because Spawn was an athlete. So of course that makes sense. Alejandro only just debuted not too long ago, and they were training him for a year, which blew my mind. Unfortunately, me and Alejandro don't really talk because he was on the fence after I left. He was on the other side of the fence in that regard, but me and Spawn still talk a lot. We just talk about comics and shit. Spawn they put their title on him, which blew my fucking mind because like he's been wrestling just as long as I have, pretty much. So I'm just like, Jesus Christ, hell yeah! And I was fucking happy for him because dude deserves it. Dude deserves everything he earns because that man puts in all the fucking hard work, and I couldn't pick a better guy to do it with.
So your trainer, the head trainer, would basically have some of the more, if I'm understanding correctly, the more experienced guys basically running things. He would bark stuff out, have them do it.
Yes.
Did you feel like the people that were running it did a good job? I mean, as far as being able to show you guys the way to do it, did they have the patience? Did they have that coach's mentality?
Yes, so Chase Gosling was a really like he could really like work with you like and relate with you and get you and like try to figure you out and give you a better idea of how to understand something. Matt Vine was a dick. He was that dickhead trainer, that personality that we see in wrestling reality shows and shit like that. And for the longest time, nobody could stand him. But, you know, I especially, I was just like, just do as he says so he leaves you the fuck alone, that sort of deal. And I did. We eventually, I tell this story to Anestra a lot. I told him, like, it's funny, right as I was about to tell Vine to fuck off, suddenly him and I were cool. It's like, God damn it. And so he's like, no, I want to tell him to fuck off. But, you know, that's wrestling. One minute you'll hate each other. Next minute you're talking shit about each other behind your back. Then next minute you're fucking sharing beers together. There's a picture of me, this guy named Slick Willie, and Vine together at a restaurant. And I adore that photo. I do still adore that photo. It's just a shame how things turned out, but you know how it is. Who else? Charlie Hustle would just help us with like the cardio workouts, but like wrestling itself, it was usually Chase, Vine, and yeah, it was usually Chase and Vine. Everyone else, like they join in occasionally, but like most of the time it was ran by Chase or Vine.
So what was the workouts like before obviously you got officially into the ring? Like what did they have you specific? Like what was a regimen?
You started out with something called an up down, which is they teach you how to get up and down in a ring. We didn't bump for like a couple weeks, which I found out later was fucked up. And because like, I guess to pull the curtain back, your basic, like the first few things they teach you in wrestling, how to bump, how to get up and down from a ring, how to run the ropes, how to grab the ropes properly, so you don't fucking screw shit up. How to, what was I saying? How to get up and down, how to bump, and then the moves. Your first moves, obviously, the lockup, the headlock, like the technical shit. Moves itself, once you get bumping down, snapmare, hip toss, body slam, arm drag. I'm just learning arm drags. Which, when I went to CSW and said I didn't know how to do arm drags, they looked at me like I had three heads.
Oh, jeez.
Like, what in the fuck do you mean you don't know how to do arm drag? They didn't teach me. Like, how the fuck did they not teach you that? That's like day one stuff. I'm just like, oh, that's like week 2, week 3 stuff. I'm like, they didn't teach me that. They just taught us hip tosses, headlock, just other shit.
Right.
Which, so I'm still fucking struggling with the fucking arm drag, but at least I know how to take. Well, I gotta learn how to take those too, because I'll take them and they're like, Jesus Christ, you gotta fuck yourself up. That's sure deal. But yeah, it's funny too because I hate to throw dirt, but that's just how it's gonna be. They would like warn us about CSW and Freelance and all those other schools. They're like, oh, they just want your money. They're not going to teach you shit. They're just going to beat you up all day and then take your money. When, the irony is not lost on me.
Yes. So it's just interesting though. So it's very competitive, I assume, between the different training schools and trainers, and we know wrestling's kind of cutthroat, but it definitely seems like it's very apparent the way they talk about one another.
Not even that. It's just fucking Randy, because you tell Boz, hey, I went to this other school, and Steve Boz will ask you, how was it? What they teach you? And then you tell them like, oh, okay. Like we had a guy go to Dr. Tom and Kane's school.
Yep. For
like 2 weeks. He came back, and that was the first thing Boz wanted to know. Hey, what they teach you? And it's like, how's Doc? Because, of course, Boz knew Doc. Like, how's Doc? Was Kane there? It's just like, he's genuine. Like, Boz gives you that one-on-one attention. Even though you're in a group of people, it seems like he's able to get to you one-on-one. And, like, he genuinely cares and talks to you. Because, like, I always got the whole, Randy's just so busy, this, that, and the other, fucking Boz has a day job. He's a fucking bodybuilder instructor. He does all this shit, and then he wrestles. Then fucking Randy, all he does is stay at home and then come in to run the wrestling school and then bitch about how he can never make money and he blamed us for that. It's like, yeah, it was never. No, the wrestling schools don't talk shit about each other, not normally. Because we fucking work with them too sometimes. You know?
I was just about to say, like, there's got to be, you know, who can book who and who can help who make money. And
we work with POW. CSW works with POW. We'll rent rings from them. POW has a school. I mean, they'll book freelance guys. Freelance has a school. They, fucking Black and Brave guys come down to wrestle sometimes at CSW. It's like... And people have tried, too, reaching out to... PPW and Randy wanted to work together, and the only one that fucking Randy took was OBW. And even then, it was just like every now and again, and he still motherfucks Al Snow for no apparent reason, other than he just hates everybody in the business because he thinks he was fucked and he deserved more. No, I don't get the fucking just dues. It's like, yeah, because you're a prick. You know?
Yeah, it seems like there's people that there's one of two people. The person who actually says, I had a great experience, I loved it, it just didn't work out, the timing, whatever. And then there's people who say, no, it was the system was against me, this person didn't like me, they tried to sandbag me, blah, blah, blah. I never got the right push. I was way more talented than everyone else in my class. And, you know, they were jealous of me. So it's not surprising.
Oh, yeah, it's just... You meet all kinds of personalities, and he was just one personality that you meet in wrestling, and I'm just glad I moved on. You know, I'm a lot happier for it, even though, you know, of course, everyone knows a lot of people know a lot of shit happened, but, you know, again, had it happened there, probably would have been a different story, but it happened while I was with here, and that's when I learned, like, a lot of the wrestlers and the wrestling guys, Boz, and everyone's like, we're fucking here for you, dude. And I'm like, oh, no, because you didn't really get that at PPW. Not really. Like, I'm still friends with a couple of them, and I still interact with a couple of them, but, like, it's not, I didn't get that kind of camaraderie. Yeah. I still didn't say it right. Camaraderie. There we go.
So you move on, and you decide at one point, hey, I'm going to switch schools. Switch trainers. The show needs to go on, but it needs to happen in a different place. I need to change the scenery.
So
how did you decide, and how did you end up landing on the current promotion you're with now? Was there a process where I'm going to go ahead and look around again, just like I did in the beginning, or was it, no, this really seems to be the next place I need to be?
To start with why I left.
And that's completely up to you if you want to go into all
of course. Well, of course. Why I left. I wasn't being taught much by that point. It was coming to class, do some cardio workouts, have a practice match, and then that's it. No real new. I didn't know till switching schools. They're like, oh, hey guys, here's the drills we're doing today. We're gonna do this move, this move, this move. All right, now let's do some opening spots, this, that, and the other. And it's like shit I would have never thought of, but now my brain just starts thinking, I'm like, what if I did this, that, and the other, and shit like that. I didn't do that at PPW because I didn't know what else the fuck I was doing.
Right.
And no one wanted to show me. You could make the argument I could have asked, and yeah, I could have. But it was usually whenever I asked Randy, hey, can we practice this? And Randy's like, no, we're doing this today. Okay, cool. I asked someone, hey, can you show me how to do this? And they're like, I don't want to get heat with Randy. I'm just like, okay, cool. I was depressed. Shocking, I know. I was depressed, and I knew it wasn't with wrestling in general, but my confidence was shot. Just shot. I didn't want to do it anymore. It seemed like every match I had, I fucked it up somehow. Or, because the thing was, after every match, Randy would run to the back and tell them, give them pointers, this and the other. My match would never come near me. And when I would go up to him and ask, how was my match? He'd be like, oh, keep doing what you're doing, kid. Or it'd be like, oh, it's fucking terrible. Like, you fucked up the finish. I'm just like, okay. Even though that was the last straw. Was that one? You fucked up the finish when the guy I was wrestling was like, "Yeah, that was my bad." And obviously, I wasn't gonna bury the guy.
Sure,
that's not me. I'm like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, I just took it. I'm like, okay. There was another match where I apparently fucked it up, even though it was fucked from the beginning because the guy who was putting it together didn't know what the fuck he was doing. I won't say who, but it got fucked up and somehow I got blamed. I'm just like, cool, lovely. And then it was that one where like, and then I watched the match back and Randy's is Casey James, who some of you may remember him from SmackDown like 04, 05. He came in because he was a Randy student. And he came in and he was on commentary, you know, putting over the match. And every time he said something that I would do, Randy would have some jackass comment. So like I'm trying to work the crowd. This is a mistake, obviously. Sleeper on Poncho. And I'm like stomping my foot, trying to get the crowd. I'm like tap, 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 tap. And Casey James like, oh, Moondog, getting the crowd into it. And then Randy, you don't really tap from a sleeper. And I'm just like, okay. And then like I think I sucked at clotheslines at the time, but like I fucking did my best. Now I fucking now I can do a clothesline, thank God. But it's like Casey's like big clotheslines by the Moondog, and Ray's like those aren't that big. I'm just like, what? Fucking why? And then whenever he wasn't on commentary, he'd fucking bum rush out to be like yelling spots at us to do. And it's like, we're in the middle of a show, dude. What the fuck? Like, he has this control fucking thing. He's got to control everything. Should it make sense? I didn't feel like I was progressing, and I felt like I was pissing Randy off. So I shook their hands, said, I'm leaving. I'm taking a break. And I was. That's when a week later I was like, wow. It was PPW. I just wanted to leave. So I posted in the group chat. I'm like, yo, I'm leaving. I had a long emotional message. I got the screenshot somewhere. And everybody liked it except one person, Randy. And I got banned from the group. I was like, okay, cool. Then he posts later. He goes, he made a post. Somebody sent it to me. He called me like, he called my stint in PPW a participation trophy case or something like that. A participation trophy. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? One. And two, go fuck yourself. You know? Fucking go do a forward roll in spikes, you asshole. I
mean, what is that even? What is the point? It just makes him look
petty. Bad. He is a petty fucking person. And I hate to dunk on him, but it's the truth, and it is how it is. And when I left, I had a couple of people from PPW text me, goes, what do you mean you left? What do you mean I left? I left. A lot of them wanted to go too, but they didn't know, how, where to go, or they couldn't. Or some just didn't want, some wanted to stay, which is fine. There were camps that said how I left. What do you mean? I left. I didn't fucking twirl my mustache like an evil villain going, yes, I'm going to fuck over to PPW and then go somewhere else. I meant dick on the card. I was second, third match. I always lost, which is fine. I didn't give a shit. I was just learning. I'm learning how to wrestle. I'm paying dues. I'm fucking putting guys over. And Rainey would get pissed because guys would want to have matches with me instead of just having a squash match. And I'm just like, fucking talk to them. It ain't me. He's thinking I'm him and hawing to them. It's like, no, because if I him and haw to them, they would have been like, yeah, fuck you. Kick me in the nuts, roll me up. Like, it's not what I did. Right. But according to him, that's what I was doing. And it's like, you do not know shit, do you? And it's just, it was a shame because, like, so I left. And earlier when I was talking about looking in schools, I just looked into schools and I was like, how bad is CSW? Texted him. Boz messaged me. Goes, hey, let's talk on the phone. Got on the phone. He pretty much gave me the whole rundown. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. I'll show up. I showed up and met Sky Blue, who also came from PPW. and doesn't have too good to say, but that's her story. It's not mine. I won't share. She can, and look at her now. She's signed with AEW.
Yeah, that's
and
a big deal.
And of course, Randy's crying. I don't get my dudes because you're this. I don't get it. It breaks my heart because like I really wanted him to be happy for me, and I really wanted a lot of them to be happy for me, but none of them are. Some are, but the ones that are probably trying to leave and have already left. So,
do you feel like in a lot of ways that there's a lot of people who were like, man, I wish I could have did what he did. He basically just said, you know what, I've had enough. I have enough self-respect for myself, and I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, one did.
Yeah.
It was an Estra. He left. And he told me, he was like, because we ride together a lot, he told me, he goes, dude, I've been wanting to leave for years. I just didn't know when. And then, I'm not saying me leaving was what made him leave either. Sure. He left on his own. Sure. And he wanted to leave. Now, look at him now. He's doing the loops, the same Chicago loops I'm doing. He's going to Houston to do reality wrestling for Booker T.
Nice.
This dude's like, in fact, fucking guy's been wrestling for 8 years, so he's going to fucking skyrocket from here.
Yeah. And
I was shocked because, like, it's like PPW, it was a bubble in Woodstock. They didn't expand for some reason. And all these other promotions do. And like, you get noticed. Because when I got that message that I made the QWI, which is a LGBT wrestling list, they're like, hey, you made the QWI. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What are you talking about? And then they sent it to me. I was like, because if I was still a PPW, I would never have gotten on that list.
Right.
But being away from PPW since August, I have already apparently made someone's notice. And from what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying so hard to do, especially with right now trying to get my life back on track and getting ready for 2022, it's like I'm being acknowledged. And I get, you don't expect handouts, don't expect all this praise, not just in wrestling, but in real life. It's what makes, when you do get praise, means so much. And this meant a lot. Because, I'm just like, oh my God, it's worth it. Everything I'm doing is worth it. Thank God. So first day at CSW, did drills, had a horrible practice match. That's when they found out, oh God, we have a lot of work to do.
But it's not to your fault though, whatsoever. No. I mean, you seeked out, hey, what else can I do? How do I raise my game? And it's a situation of they just weren't willing to play ball with me, and that's just the way it is. And since then, I like to think I've improved. I think I have, honestly, because I'm a lot more confident. I'll be nervous all day, but then when that music hits, I just get into that. That's why I love the song I come out to. My Name is Mud by Primus, because just anybody that's hardcore into music like I am, they get it. Like they'll listen to it and like, yeah, I can see it. Where it's just like it does something to you. It's the weirdest thing. So that music fucking hits. I get in that ring. Goes from there. If there's something fucked up, I like to think I can recover from it now. Or I'm just like, fuck, just kind of. Fuck. Just all right, it's fine. Work in the corner. All right, you stay there. Move on this. Something like that. And like, especially with my practice matches now, it's like it's a whole different ball game now, I feel. And I think it is, So I'm excited to see what else happens, Well, I mean, you are definitely in a prime spot in the United States when it comes to wrestling, because Chicago is the mecca of wrestling. I mean, there's a lot of cities that, hang their hat on wrestling, but Chicago really is the premier place to be. Would you like to continue to work for some other promotions as far as getting booked as well? Like, we know that there's a lot of different things near the Chicago area. Well, it's like Warrior Wrestling is an opportunity as well. Our good friends at AAW as well, which is really cool. So what is Moondog what is on your list of 2022 as far as some things, early, this is really what I would like to try to do in the upcoming year?
Yeah, promotions like AAW and Warrior Wrestling are one of those, like, it's gonna take a minute, because they're not just gonna book any old person out of the Chicago scene. Rightfully so. That's why they got quality shows. I've been looking into the Indiana area a lot, especially after debuting for Crash Tested Wrestling. Even though I riff on Indiana all the time on social media, I do low-key like Indiana. It reminds me a lot of home here in Belvedere. Because Belvedere's hee-haw Rockford, pretty much. So everyone talks about Rockford. They're like, oh, it's dangerous, it's ghetto, it's fucking gun violence, shit like that. Well, then there's Belvedere. That's the hee-haw version of it, in a way. So I pretty much, I feel like I fit in right away, especially the gimmick. Thank God. And I'm excited to see what happens because, of course, now that I'm on my own independent, you don't get booked right away. Obviously, you call them up. You're like, yo, some assholes be like, yeah, can I wrestle on your next show? And it's like, fuck no, we've been booked 2 months in advance. But me, I text them. I go, hey, my name's so and so. My name's so-and-so. I wrestle as so-and-so. I train under Steve Boz, CSW. Looking to do some grunt work, like pay dues, help out the ring, fucking security, ticket taking, spittoon, taking out the spittoon, whatever the fuck you need. And 9 times out of 10, I get a good response to it. They're like, fuck yeah, please, And some are up front. Some are like, hey, we got enough guys, thanks. Others will just kind of leave you on read, which is fine. And then others be like, yes, please, but just so you know. That sort of deal.
Right.
And it's fine. And that's why they tell you, always bring your gear, always bring your gimmicks. That's what that box is back there. It's for the merch table. Because you never know. Because if you get on that show, guess what I can do now? I could go sell my shit.
Absolutely, make money.
But they got a little spot on the merch table. And then there you go. There's my shirt. There's some DVDs and wrestling figures. There you go. Ta-da. So...
Do you, okay, and without getting nosy, what is the average, not necessarily what you, but what is the average that a wrestler in their first 1 to 3 years can expect as far as maybe a payoff, even though it's going to vary promotion to promotion? But what would you say, in your opinion, is a ballpark? It's too much. It's too varied, and it depends on you, who you are, how good you are.
It's hard to say. It really depends who you are and how far along you are, how long you wrestled, how good are your matches, did the promoter seek you out, and such. But there's only so much I can get into on that, and I don't know. But
sure,
that's why I like when I can wrestle, I can at least sell shit at the merch table. So even if I've had a promotion where I didn't get paid, but I sold shit on my merch table, so I didn't leave empty-handed. I had gas. Well, I went to McDonald's afterward, but I had food and gas on the way home. So all because I sold shit. And I tell guys too, not that I know what I'm doing, but like I've told a few like friends of mine that are also wrestling. I'm like, yo, you should get shit to sell, because they'll ask, hey, how'd you do, brother? And I'm like, I did this. You should really do it too. It's so easy. You can literally legit. At CSW, we do the Futures Battle Royal, which is where me and other students fight in the pre-show. I could be in there for a minute, if that, but because I participate on the show, I have a merch table spot, so it's like take advantage of it, That's something else too. It's like I really was I wanted to market myself, the T-shirts, the photos. Especially the photos. It's my favorite thing to get back, other than the footage itself of the match. It's my favorite thing to get back after wrestling are the photos of my match, of my entrance, of whatever I was just in. I just love it because like all the shows I've been working on have had top-notch photographers. And even the amateur photographers are good, So I'm just like, it's exciting because I could use it to market. I always credit them. I always ask, can I use your photos? Do you need money? Like, do you need commission before I post these? And usually 9 times out of 10, they're always cool, or they cut a deal. And, so shout out to guys like Camera Guy Gimmick and JPEG Snapshot. I hate that I fucked up his name, but guy out of Indiana, they're great. Take care of your refs and photographers, because those two take care of you in more ways than one than you realize.
Man, there's so many things here that we're just getting into. Let me ask you this question. So, I mean, we're coming up on the anniversary. What would be three main pieces of advice you would give people who are deciding that this is something they want to do now that you've gone through at least the beginnings of training and training schools and how politics are involved in this and that? What would you tell people as far as, hey, you want to do this? These are three things I think you should be really, really aware of before you get ready to go.
The ring sucks. The rings and ropes will always suck. In fact, I went in there knowing, okay, I've always heard bumping sucks, especially when you first start. It was the ropes where I'm like, fuck, those hurt. No, okay, I'll give you real advice. The first thing, give it an honest shot. Because you don't want to go in there, make an ass out of yourself, and then it not work out. Even if you do make an ass of yourself, it still doesn't work out. At least you tried and gave it a fucking worth. Because I made an ass out of myself, and it took a long time to gain respect and that and the other. And they finally saw that I was improving and shit like that, and I was slowly getting the respect. The second one is your peers. Depending on the school you go to, there will be a lot of people who are like, they get it. They're all like, yeah, we were all like this when we started. Most of us anyway. There will be some who kind of, they're like, oh my God, this guy just doesn't get it. That's their deal. You just really got to just remember, yes, they're there. But then think about when you finally get over the hump, start getting good at the things you can get good at. And then they'll probably be the ones that are going, oh yeah, that was good. Third one, do what is best for you. And be loyal. So be loyal. Be respectful. But at the end of the day, who pays the bills? Who makes those car rides? Who gets gas? Who eats? It's you. You got to remember, you come first. And that's pretty much the gist of it. It's hard. It's easier said than done, obviously. But all you can do is just learn from mistakes, learn from experiences, and don't be a dick. Just do your best. Don't be a dick and do your best. That's all you can fucking do, man. Oh.
And I will say this: it was really cool when Mikey actually is the one who brought you into the Firm Material family, which I thought was really, really cool. Yeah. That meant a lot to us. Mikey had mentioned me. He said, I know a guy who's busting his ass. And to get that endorsement and, I thought was really, really cool. And you're 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or the Ritt will say 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade. But what I will say is it's how we're all interconnected, right? Yeah. Me with Mikey and Jerry, you with Mikey, and now you're part of all of this. It's so cool, and I am so happy for you in your journey. And I think you are a great wrestler, but I think you're even a better human being, and I genuinely mean that. You care about people tremendously. You have taken care of me in so many ways. I could not even begin to say that, from giving me your AEW action figures because you were like, Freland can't find any, for writing me a letter and giving me an amazing 8.5 by 11 autographed photo and merchandise and all of this kind of stuff. And I want to let you know that I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And I will continue to wave the Moondog banner as long as I can, because I think you truly deserve it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because the show means a lot to me, because before I became a wrestler, I listened to it and I loved it. And while I was training to be a wrestler, I listened and I loved it. I have fucking playlists on my Spotify of like the old episodes that I can't sleep. I'll throw on and I'll try to fall asleep to, and then I have to turn it off because I start laughing because Mikey said something goofy or and got Jerry fucking crying on the other end, you know, like, yeah, because the show meant so much to me, and then of course the running gag of you saying of people sending you free shit. So I was just like, all right, let's continue. Let's continue the gag. Just so everyone can give you shit for it. It's a rib on you. It's the greatest rib ever. You get something out of it, but you still get made fun of for it. And it's like, I have this stuff. I don't know why are you laughing at me? I benefit.
I have a room full of merchandise. And it's just like, I don't even deserve any of this. I'm just being a goof, but
it works.
Wrestling has given so much to me, and I can tell it's given so much to you, and it's so exciting. And if anybody's hearing this right now and they are in the area, please give all your information out. How can people book you? How can people get a hold of you? All of your social media stuff, your contact information. This is the time. Purge it all out there.
Yes. So you can book me. You can shoot me a DM on Twitter at Moondog Murray, Instagram Moondog Greg Murray, or the old school email, which so far the only thing I got is spam and a friend of mine fucking with me, because that's just what friends do. Book Greg Murray at gmail.com, or just DM me on Twitter at Moondog Murray, Instagram Moondog Greg Murray, and right now, and I'm looking for 2022 shows. So if you want to book me, please make sure it's that. Don't be like, hey, I got a show December the 17th. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Because my last shows of the year, assuming I'm wrestling, if not, I'm at least helping out at, is this Saturday, or the 11th, December 11th Saturday, for Rockford Damage Inc. in Rockford, Illinois, and Sunday the 12th with Galley Lucha in, I believe, Marionette Park. But
nice,
both fun shows, especially Galley. I'm excited for Galley. I'm not excited for the long work day, but you know, it's always worth it in the end. It's like, fuck, can this ring get put up already? Fuck, can the stage gets put up already? But once the show starts and the show's over and you're taking everything down, you're like, this was fucking fun. I'm glad I came here. So. You know.
So where can people buy merchandise at? Because I know I've got an amazing shirt that, let me tell you something right now. When it comes to wrestling shirts, not every wrestling shirt is created equal. And what I mean by that is some will fade when you wash it, this or that. The Moondog Greg Murray shirt, it's the coolest design I've ever seen. It stands out. That is badass right there. I wear it all the time. And it's comfortable. It washes well. So where can people find your merchandise and where can they buy your stuff?
At brainbustertees.com/Moondog-Greg-Murray. I wish those hyphens weren't there because it'd be easier to just say Moondog Greg Murray, but it is what it is. But Moondog Murray on brainbustertees.com, which actually I don't know if I can say that out loud, but I know certain podcasts look into that. I don't know if you know them, Freland, but it's interesting. But yes, Brainbuster is super fucking cool, especially if you're an indie wrestler starting out. They give you deals, especially when I bought 30 shirts and they gave me the price. I'm like, holy shit, here it is. There you go. Here's the money.
Let's get her done.
Send it to me. Send it my way. So I love Brainbuster Tees. That's brainbustertees.com/Moondog-Greg-Murray. You'll see a picture of a black and white photo of a sweaty guy sitting in a chair with a fucking Nike shoe or some shit in the corner. It's funny. No one will notice that now until I said that. But of course, when it's a picture of yourself, you will notice every fucking flaw you could find. And that Nike one is what gets me every time. No, I think it was a Nike bag or something. I'm just like, oh, that Nike logo fucks with me, you know?
Greg, it has been so much fun. Is there any chance we'd love to have more of this, because I'd love to hear more of your philosophies on wrestling as well and all this different kind of things, some road stories. Any part we could do a part two with you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm usually on the panel talking about stupid shit when I can get it in when there's like a pause in like the wrestling discussion. But Yeah, so far, so far I got fun stories, and I would love to come back on and tell them. So, and there's probably going to be many more fun stories. That's just wrestling, It's a weird fucking business.
It is, and I can't wait to see what 2022 has for you.
Yes.
All right, guys. That is going to do it for Future Stars Now. I hope you enjoyed your Friday, getting a chance to relax a little bit, and hopefully on your drive home or your drive into work or whatever you happen to be doing. If you're a wrestler training as well, hit us up. Let us know. We want to hear your story. Greg has told an amazing story, and I know there's many out there just like Greg's. So hit us up. Let us know if you would like to be featured on Future Stars Now as well with myself and the Ritt. But for now, that's going to do it. Greg, nothing but love, my friend. I'll see you on the flip side with Front Row Material, and we will catch you next time on Future Stars Now.